Good evening. I do this with my kids a lot. Let's try that again. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am so excited to be here. My name is Johnathan DePriest, and these are all the elementary orchestra students that I have had the pleasure of spending this entire year with. And I know many of you came out and heard them after they had been just doing one semester in December. We've expanded our repertoire and our technique, so you're in for a real treat tonight. We're going to start off with a 4-part warm-up in the key of G major. So this is a G major warm-up. Four-part harmonies are a lot more complicated to keep in tune, and the reason we did warm-ups like that, first semester they had to learn to really stick together and keep a steady beat. Now the point is to get in tune with each other. Playing a string instrument, you have very direct control over your ability to be in tune, so they're listening to each other and adjusting. So they did a great job with that. Our first piece is going to be Ada Black Sheep, and it's also in the key of G major. Switch back to another key called the key of D major, a little bit higher, and we're going to do an old French folk song. And this one, you may have heard them practicing at home, but is like the warm-up in 4 different parts, so they have to know what their team is doing and really stick together. French folk song. One of our great enjoyments of the second semester in strings is being able to branch out to different genres. So this next piece is an old African-American hoedown called Boil Them Cabbage Down. And it's got at least 3 different parts: a bass line, a melody, and a variation. And you'll hear all 3 of those parts throughout. So I'm going to invite a couple of my guest musicians tonight and introduce them to perform this with us. Our banjo player couldn't be here tonight. He had to go into work, but we have the Honorable Mr. Chris Williams on slide guitar, Dallas Baker on acoustic guitar, and Brad Hoffman on upright bass. And we moonlight in a local blues and bluegrass band called Steel Rollers. So if you're interested in hearing more of our playing, you can look us up and come out to one of our shows sometime. Next on the list, we did make some time for some good old classical music this semester, and we had the pleasure of studying about Beethoven's Ode to Joy, which is a theme from his Ninth Symphony. And it was very revolutionary at the time because he brought in a full choir to sing along with his symphony at its debut, and that was something that hadn't really been done at that time on the orchestra stage. So we just did the theme, and it's back in the key of G major, so we're changing back and forth on the instrument. Beethoven's Ode to Joy. forgot to mention one other thing. Some of these schools I see 3 times a week, 2 times a week. One of them I only see once a week, but I see them for a full hour. There are a few students who will likely be sitting out Beethoven's Ode to Joy simply because we did not get enough time to finish it. And I told them not to be ashamed of that, but that they should just sit it out and watch their peers perform. So this, just in case you see a few students, we all had a wonderful year. We just weren't all able to finish all the music. Charleston is such a wonderful city. It has a very vibrant art scene. And if any of you have been able to explore the wonderful jazz scene here, we have the JOC, the Jazz Orchestra of Charleston, the Jazz Artists of Charleston. Just about any Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night, you can go downtown and find jazz combos playing in some of the restaurants and on some of the stages. So we just decided to explore some blues this year. And we've got a couple of wonderful guest artists and even a student artist who's going to join us. Mr. Richmond Holmes, who you see taking his seat, is actually a violinist at Springfield, but he is quite the capable drummer, so he is going to be joining us on drums. And my friends Dallas, Brad, Chris, and one more for you. Mr. Jack Pettit is the general music teacher at Springfield Elementary, and he is also a very talented saxophone player with the Jazz Orchestra here in Charleston. So we're going to do some blues for you. But before we do our final number, I just want to say a couple things. It truly is a privilege to be able to teach what my passion has been since I was a 6-year-old boy on a daily basis. And we've had an incredible journey this year. And I've tried to reinforce that concept that this is just the start of their musical journey to them. 5 years from now, they might be playing saxophone in a jazz band. They might be playing drumline in a marching band. They might be singing in a church choir, singing in school. They might be playing strings in a local symphony. 10 years from now, who knows? Maybe they'll make a record label, get famous. But I told all of them, this is just the start of your musical journey, and you spent a lot of time learning these skills. And it is my hope not only that they go on to have a lifetime enjoyment of music, but that some of them will continue to pursue it and perform it in the years to come. So we're going to close out with one last piece. I decided to do a little rock and roll. And even though I'm not Jack Black, we certainly had fun learning all about some different rhythms and riffs that you can do in rock and roll music. And this is also a little bit challenging for them because we switched from major, for you musicians out there, to minor key signatures. So this piece is in 2 different keys. It starts out in G minor, goes to D minor, and then comes back. We're going to have a lot of fun with this last piece. Once we're done, I told the kids that they had to make sure they cleaned up their area, but when we're done, if you could do me a big favor, it took us a couple hours to set this place up. There's chair racks around the room. If you could do me a small favor and help us get the chairs back on the rack, we'll put them where they need to be in the building. But this is our final number. It's been a pleasure, and I hope you enjoy the rock and roll.